It should be obvious by now that most of the political class in most of the Western world are a class apart. It's supposed to be representative government, but for the most part, these guys seem increasingly unrepresentative of anybody but themselves. Right now, it's summit season. We've had the Commonwealth Conference, which was notable only for the Prince of Wales, the next king and the next head of the Commonwealth, telling the assembled member states that he didn't care if they all became republics. Makes no difference to me. Odd, even for a Great Reset fetishist. He also said he wanted British slavery taught in schools alongside the Holocaust. He's come a long way. Back in the 90s, His Royal Highness told black recruits to the British Army that he, too, understood all about racism and prejudice because he'd been bullied at boarding school in Scotland. They debagged him and smeared marmalade on the toilet seat and were generally rather beastly. The black soldiers nodded sympathetically. Well, he's a prince of the blood, so you can understand. But what are we to make of his mum's UK and Canadian prime ministers flying from the Commonwealth Conference to the G7 and upon arrival engaging in leaden, faux, self-deprecating shtick about which of these mere first ministers has the smallest jet?
I saw Canada Force One. Big plane. Fantastic.
Yeah, it's not quite as big as yours.
No, ours is very, very.
Yeah, well, we're both very small.
Very modest. Very modest.
Jacinda Trudeau's Blackface One is way smaller than Boris Johnson's Cake Force One. No, mine's smaller than yours. Are you one of these no-name schlub losers who still has to fly commercial? Here are the scenes on Air Canada the other night on the runway at Montreal waiting to depart for Heathrow, but not before armed coppers have boarded the flight to drag away various UK citizens, Formula One types, there for the Grand Prix. Drag them away for being in non-compliance with the totalitarian mammy singer's COVID regime. Yeah, there they are. Where's the guy? Yeah, they're taking away those people. They're being pulled off the plane. They're being pulled off the plane for being in non-compliance. While Justin and Boris are joking about who has the smaller government plane, on real planes, on real Canadian planes, UK citizens are getting dragged off. Air Canada has now admitted to the UK passengers it dragged off the plane that it was wrong to do so and is offering compensation to make up for one crappy experience with Air Canada. You're now going to be offered a second crappy experience with Air Canada. That's exciting. Those sinister black-garbed cops, by the way, don't look anything like Canadian policemen are meant to look like. So next time you're dragged off the plane and are treated like garbage, it'll be by Mounties in ceremonial dress galloping down the aisle. Did Boris bring this up with Jacinda after all the private jet banter? All leaders do nothing for their own citizens, but their compassion is boundless for other people's. On Friday, the US Supreme Court overturned America's federal abortion law, Roe versus Wade. This means that instead of a one-size-fits-all abortion law, there will now be 50 different abortion laws, one for each state. Boris Johnson didn't care for this and called it a, quote, big step backwards when he was interviewed on CNN. I was trying to think of another country that doesn't have a single one-size-fits-all abortion law decreed from its capital, but instead leaves it to sub-jurisdictions. Now, where would that be? Some obscure pinprick on the map called the United Kingdom. There's no such thing as a UK abortion law, no such thing. Only separate abortion regimes for Scotland and for Northern Ireland and for England and Wales. But Boris Johnson calls America's adoption of a UK abortion system a big step backwards. If he's that concerned about the US courts, maybe he shouldn't be putting Julian Assange on a one-way flight to certain death in an American prison. G7 humbug of the week number 3, Boris Johnson. G7 humbug of the week number 2, Emmanuel Macron. Says the dinky little metrosexual globalist, I express my solidarity with the women whose freedoms are today challenged by the Supreme Court of the United States of America. You fraudulent twerp. In the US, the court struck down Roe versus Wade in order to allow Mississippi specifically to prohibit abortions after 15 weeks, generally. In France, you can't generally get an abortion after 14 weeks. So all you women enshackled by Monsieur Macron's abortion regime and pining to abort your baby, but it's been 14 weeks and a day, hop on an Air France flight. You've still got 6 days to get your abortion in yeehaw, redneck, God-fearing, knuckle-dragging, stump-toothed, inbred, backward misogynist Mississippi. And Macron, so, this is a terrible thing for the women by the backward judges of the United States. Yeah, they're reducing it to something closer to what you do, chumpy McFrench pants. Okay, G7 humbug of the week. This week's winner, Jacinda Trudeau, has announced that he is opening his borders to abortion refugees from America. As soon as he heard the news from the US Supreme Court, Monsieur Trudeau put down the shoe polish and stopped singing Mammy and tweeted, no government politician, no government, no politician, no man should tell a woman what she can and cannot do with her body. I want women in Canada to know that we will always stand up for your right to choose. Really, a woman's right to choose. No man should tell a woman what she can do with her body. He spent the last year and a half telling women they can't board a plane or a train if they don't agree to shoot the COVID happy juice into their bodies. Those UK citizens on that Air Canada flight, if you're English or Scottish and you've been living in Toronto or Moose Jaw, Trudeau won't even let you leave the country without him pumping the requisite ever-increasing number of shots into your body. But now he's hot for bodily autonomy. Let me know what you think. GBViews at gbnews.uk.